Can I ask a question? What do you mean by capacity?
I would say manpower. Like, what have you guys?
I thought you
done
meant,
to keep up?
are there enough homes?
Okay. I think we all agree we have enough of
But
that.
I'm going to say, I've had to rethink our process. To just make a long story short, there's no need in looking back and saying what went wrong. I'm taking responsibility. Having said that, we've had some real productive conversations, I'll say, about how we can increase our capacity, basically. So I'm glad you asked that question. And we're going to try to do it on two fronts. We're going to increase the number of asbestos testers.
Yes, sir.
We have several counties who are helping us. Well, not several, one, California County, who is in the same situation we are,
okay,
and have the most need. Along with, we're going to increase the asbestos testers, as well as we're looking at the process of having multiple contractors doing houses at once. You're going to let Elijah elaborate, because he's been the point man on it. But
sure. That's where the rubber meets the road. I mean, that's what, the delay, the largest part of the delay is in the testing process. A tester comes out, takes a sample, sends it to a lab for analysis. At some point, you get the all clear, or okay, you have to remediate. In some circumstances, you actually have the tester or the lab saying additional point testing is required. So, okay, you gotta go do that now. But if you, and this again is why some of the delay was taking place, if you increase the number of testers, and additionally, to kind of piggyback on what the mayor was saying, we gotta increase our scope of the labs doing the testing. Now, to be perfectly honest, that's going to increase costs, because more labs, more services provided, more money spent. So it will increase the cost, but it's a need that we have to address, so we're going to do it. Ideally, too, what it does is enable us to get more results back in a quicker fashion. So if we can cut that 3-week window sometimes, that's the outer limit, down to 2 or even 1, hopefully, we're going to try and accomplish that by bringing on more testers and more labs. The list of additional demolition contractors, we've been, as the mayor said, we've been in contact with Cuyahoga County and their land bank. They use some, what I will describe as really novel techniques to speed the process. And not the least of which is one where they almost have what I would consider a competitive process amongst demolition contractors, meaning they have a roster of contractors, they'll give one contractor a batch, move on, and you can do it at the X price or move on. And if they agree, fine. Then the next batch goes to the next contractor on the roster, and so on and so on and so on until you're out of money, basically.
Oh, I was going to ask
it's called
about
a monster batch.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
And we like the technique. And Mr. Keys, even this morning, Youngstown uses a different process. We tried to use that process, and we were told we couldn't legally. We re-explored that possibility of adopting that process. What was that? They do an RFP process.
They do an RFP process as opposed to a
bidding.
bidding process. They do an RFP, get a list of contractors that are willing to do it at the price the city sets. And then they just go through the list, and as the houses come up, they give it to the next contractor on the list. What that does then, instead of going out to a sealed bid and waiting while you advertise for a couple weeks in the paper that you're doing your bidding, and then waiting for the bids to come back and the tabulations, that just speeds that process up. And if you have a number of contractors on that list, you can keep that moving. Now, there are some communities that say that that goes against bidding processes and the way the bidding process is set up, and that's where we're exploring the legalities of doing it that way versus some others. But there are communities that do it that way.
So I'm assuming that if we do it either way, we're trying to control cost, because I think there was a worry that now that we're, potentially in a crunch, that a contractor could, milk us dry.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. We're trying to control cost and be cognizant of speed as well. One of the things that came up when we knew of this deadline, I don't know if many of you know, but Mr. Jim Ratakis was pretty much, he was the one that 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 was the He works for the West Reserve Land Conservancy. He reached out to me when he knew we were struggling with time. There are some things land banks can do that cities and counties can't do. A lot of these techniques we're talking about are some of those ideas that he's shared with me and us. Marissa was there as well. And we're going to try to implement. Just as when I left the office today, he's going to also give me another list of contractors who he knows are willing to work. They're in Northeast Ohio. They're bonded. They're ready to work. We just got to get multiples moving.
So,
and under NSP, we didn't have a deadline, so we tore down a lot of homes. We did it fast, but we didn't have. We could walk away from hot houses. We could control the cost, and still, be pretty effective. The rules are so much changed, and we were. I hate to say it, but we got the check. We were able to. We weren't the fiscal agent, so it was a lot easier in terms of submitting for reimbursements.
Did you have something?
Are we going to have more than one contractor doing the work?
That's the goal. Yes.
Okay. So you're looking at.
Now, I don't want the contractors to, we don't want to get into a piston match with contractors because we've been using a bidding process. We don't want to do that. We want to use multiple contractors.
Was that the original plan, multiple contractors, or do we need them now because we're so close to the deadline?
That's what's driving us using multiples. We were hoping if we could get we always wanted to use multiples. But when you get one guy who's underbidding everybody, if you do the bid process, you take the lowest bidder. So it sort of doesn't lend itself for multiples if they're coming in at different prices. If you use an RFP and you have a set price or an average, they can say you want this work.
Take it or leave it.
So the $1.5 million equals 11,800 average per house, and Youngstown's average cost was $9,000. And you're referring again to the RFP, the difference in the.
I don't know what's driving their cost down. I will say Julie Green from the land banks doesn't think ours is going to come in as high as we're predicting. We're looking at the highest possible cost so that we don't overestimate how many houses we can take down. And so we're averaging around 10 grand a house. That's what we think. We haven't done any, so we're hoping that they come in less, and if they do, we can do more.
Fire damage did come in less than that.
The fire damage did.
They did what?
They came in much less than that.
Yeah.
The $10,000 estimate, just so you know where we got that estimate from, was from the NSP3 houses that the county tore down. We took the number of houses they tore down, divided it, and then it came out to about 10 grand a house. I understand there was a couple of houses, for example, there was a house on Willow Street, it was $24,000 to take down because of the asbestos. So some of the houses can come down for $4,000 or $5,000. Some are at 18, 19, depending on the amount of asbestos, and that's what raises your average.
Sure. All right.
So that's where the 10 came from, was the county estimate, based on what they did in the city.
My next question is about the timeline and just the process in general. According to the timeline, there are a number of things that need to be completed prior to the actual demolition. So notifying the lien holder, that process. Where do we stand on those items? Are those being done behind the scenes? Because really all we've been talking about is, the asbestos testing and sending them out for bid.
That's completed.
Okay. For all 127 houses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Will been one contractor, we've already talked about that. That's it, I think that's it. Nola, did you have any other questions?
I think we're satisfied for now, and a few of the things we can go over just as a recap that we touched on tonight is that there are priority maps. The firehouses are coming down first, as well as the crime houses. Director Canwa Mesa is in charge of the program. And we have 2 people coordinating with the land bank from community development. The money has not been spent. We're not going to go by a squeaky wheel process. 25 more next week are going to be out to bid. 60 approximately are in the process of asbestos testing. And the administration under Enzo has agreed to a check-in date, if you will, for the WNLC. And the first one will be in 3 weeks.
20th?
Sounds right. 3 weeks from today. And we also established 127 homes will come out of the 1.5 million that we have. We talked about the firehouses and the priority tested and the update to the WNLC. And I think we established what a lot of people were wondering about, why the costs have increased from what we originally thought. And I think we can agree that it's the deadline that is looming. And if you're going to increase testers, increase possibly the number of labs, which will also bring up the cost. But I'm sure meanwhile some more homes will be qualified to go on the list if we can be more than 127.
When can I get the list of 127 houses?
Is it this?
No.
No, that's an order of demolition.
Right.
There should be 460.
The AG list? Okay. We have this.
So that's all 127 of them?
I didn't count them.
There should be
It doesn't look like it.
a number there, that doesn't look like the evidence paper.
Do you mind if we just follow up with you
That's
on
fine.
that? Okay.
Absolutely.
It's about 58.
Everyone else times that question for me.
Okay, any other questions from the,
No.
I have about 8 of Alice.
Go ahead, Donna.
Oh, speak up, I can't believe you had to say that.
I know, right? Shocked.
We're talking about 127 houses, but I'm assuming we're gonna be proceeding on more of them?
Yes.
Because if they come in with the 1.5 less, and then we're prepared for the hardest hit, and then we're prepared for this, we're not gonna get into this again,